Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Welcome to another episode review for Star Trek Discovery Season 2. This one for Episode 11, Perpetual Infinity. So this episode kind of continues the tradition in the latter half here of Season 2 of kind of taking a little bit more time to breathe. Even though a lot does happen in this episode, the action is kind of dialed back a little bit and we get a little bit more of those character moments that we have seen more of in the second half of the season. We learn a lot in this episode. Control is definitely the big bad of the season, and it is going to be responsible for the extermination of all sentient life in the galaxy, and the Red Angel, who is Burnham's mother, is doing these time jumps back in time to try and prevent that happening. And it all kind of boils down to Control getting its hands on the sphere data that has to do with artificial intelligence and becoming sentient, and this is what leads to the catastrophe. And Burnham's mother, who we learn is named Gabrielle, has kind of been doing these time jumps back in time over and over and over again, trying to set right what once went wrong and hoping the next leap will be her leap home. It sounds familiar somehow. So in this episode, a lot is learned about that side of things, and a lot of those big decisions are made quickly, like was a complaint I had in earlier episodes where there's kind of all these decisions being made very, very quickly with little time to kind of debate them. But in this episode, we actually do get a little bit of debate on one of the big decisions. Gabrielle Burnham tells them they have to delete the sphere data to keep it from getting into Control's hands. And they do ultimately make the decision to do that, but I like that there is some debate about it. Saru kind of speaking up, saying that to do so would be like burning down the Library of Alexandria. Interestingly enough, there's a couple of references to real life libraries and repositories of knowledge, and I was totally expecting this to be a Trek list moment, you know, where they cite a couple of real world examples and then throw in a Star Trek one, like in this case maybe Memory Alpha or something like that. But surprisingly that doesn't happen, which was an interesting choice. It's just real world examples that Saru gives. No real purpose behind me bringing that up other than to say that was interesting. I also have to say there were some really great performances by the actors in this episode. Sonia Sohn, who plays Gabrielle Burnham in particular, has some really great moments as she plays off of various characters. Pike, Burnham, of course, she has some really intense scenes with her, and Georgiou as well, the two kind of mother figures in Burnham's life, minus Amanda, who's also a mother figure but isn't here for this. It's interesting to see those two kind of face off. And there's some insights into Georgiou's character that I wasn't expecting when Gabrielle Burnham says that she's seen that Georgiou cares for and loves Burnham and makes her promise to look out for her and protect her. I thought that was a really moving scene, and we're definitely seeing some thawing of that Georgiou character and a little bit more humanizing of her. So that's very welcome, and I'm really enjoying Michelle Yeoh in these scenes as well. Speaking of Georgiou, there's some great moments between her and Tyler, surprisingly. A little bit of flirting there, kind of back and forth when Georgiou kind of realizes that all is not as it seems with Leland and is enlisting Tyler's aid in opposing him. There's some really great stuff between them that I would say definitely qualifies as flirting. I was unexpectedly pleased with that. I think that was really fun. Other great moments in this episode, I would say, would have to be Spock. Does his usual great job. Ethan Peck is wonderful in the role. Not as much of a role for Spock in this one as previous episodes, but there still are a few great scenes highlighting his performance. The episode closes with a really great scene between him and Burnham where they're kind of discussing their next steps and figuring out where to go from here. And of course, as there have already been memes posted on the internet, and I'm sure a t-shirt coming soon with Spock's great phrase, "I like science." And just that delivery, there's something about it that I thought was really great. A lot of people don't agree. There's some people online saying that line was really dumb, but I don't know. I really liked that. I thought that was fun. Culber, I have to say, it's great to see him back in uniform and back on duty. He seems much more at ease this week and kind of figuring things out, figuring out his role and that sort of thing. I'm assuming we're going to get some movement on the relationship between him and Stamets, hopefully getting back to something resembling what it was before. But in the meantime, Almost out of all of the characters we saw this week, he was almost the most at ease of any of them, which was an interesting twist. Alan Van Sprang as Leland, I think, does a great job in this episode and continues to do a great job. He's played that character very well. He's the character you love to hate. But in this one, I'm wondering if Leland, as we know him, is dead now, having been taken over at the end of the last episode by the Control AI. I also have to say I loved the kind of statement the episode was making about how Leland was able to be compromised more easily because he's someone who is able to compromise himself on his morals and his ethics. I think that said something really interesting because he was so variable on morals and ethics. He's able to be influenced by an outside influence more easily. And also an interesting statement, basically, that the Control AI can take over and do dastardly things because Leland is known to do dastardly things, and he's someone who is able to compartmentalize his morals and ethics that way. I think saying some very interesting things about his character, not at all complimentary. So, I really like it when they make very subtle statements like that, being susceptible to outside influence because he doesn't have the same moral fortitude, I guess, as someone who's more concerned with right and wrong than he is. Very interesting. I've seen some speculation online that what we've seen of Control and the AI may lead to some revelations about the origin of the Borg. Again, like last week, I'm not ready to jump on board with that yet. I did notice a few of the things that other people have pointed out. Leland has a line that sounds very similar to Resistance is Futile. And, that seems intentional, but I feel like it's definitely just trying to lead us off in a wrong direction. I don't think they're going to do a Borg origin story. There are a lot of things that have to go certain ways in order for it to go in that direction. I don't know. I think it would be interesting. I just don't think that's where they're going with it. That said, we did have the nanites that were invading Leland, had that kind of green glow to them. But I don't know. I don't think that's the case, but it is definitely interesting to speculate about. Not a lot for Tilly to do in this episode. She seems to have been put on the back burner a little bit for this one. The one scene that she did have kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. It felt like they weren't, she was just kind of being annoying, which Tilly's usually a lot of fun. I really like her, but in that scene, like even the characters kind of seem to be annoyed with her, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I hope they find something more interesting for her character to do going forward. I really liked at the front half of the season, they had her in the May Ahern story, and she had some really interesting stuff to do. I want to see Tilly doing some interesting stuff again in these last 3 episodes. Speaking of which, only 3 episodes left. I can't believe how close we are to the end of the season. It really feels like I've been recently rewatching season 1 with a friend of mine who hasn't seen it, and we're about the same point in that series in season 1 as we are in season 2 now. So, seeing that the parallels between the episodes and what's going on, it feels like we're kind of shifting gears into the last little bit of the adventure here, much like what was going on at this point in season 1. But all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it was a great addition. Sonia Sohn as Gabrielle Burnham, I think, is a great addition to the series as well. At the end of the episode, she in the suit gets sucked into that wormhole, and it looks like there's no real easy way for her to get back. However, Burnham does say that she will find her and all of that. So, maybe there's still a role for her to play in the future. Not sure where they're going to go with her, but right now it looks pretty dire. Interestingly enough, the one thing I noticed was when she said that she wasn't responsible for the 7 signals. So we still don't know what the origin of those are. I have some theories that I'm going to save for the deep dive video. But from you guys, I want to hear your theories before I make that video. Let me know what you think is going to happen, any theories that you've put together after watching Perpetual Infinity. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for their help in bringing this episode to you. New month coming up in just a couple of days. I have a bunch of new Patreon supporters that I have to add to the list, so be patient. You will see your names there soon. Thank you all so much who have pledged to support the channel. I really do appreciate it. For everyone else, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, or even just watching. That's really the best thing you can do for me. I'll see you all in the next video, and until next time, Hamlet, hell yeah.